It's that time of the month again. The next release of the Boruto manga has dropped. This chapter's title, True Power. In last month's chapter, we got more details on how Kurama came back, and how he is now inside of Himawari. We got to learn that not only is Himawari a Jinchuriki though, she's considered the most compatible Jinchuriki that Kurama has ever had. And with the apparent death of Inogen, Himawari has broken free from the tree that was holding her, and is coming at Jura with the face lines Naruto had, but with the medusa hair of Kushina, which I think is an awesome homage to Himawari's grandmother. As usual, I'm going into this chapter mostly blind and plan to experience it with you as we read. And now we can begin, but before that, let's just say, welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. The chapter begins with Himawari escaping the tree she had been captured by and Jura watching her, wondering what's going on. He says that most of this can be attributed to the Ninetales' chakra, but he's still unsure as to what's going on. Shikadai and Chocho watch this and call out her name. They notice that she's walking perfectly fine on her leg that was snapped only moments earlier. She walks up to the spike where Inogen is lying impaled and places her hand upon it as she looks up at her apparently deceased friend. She takes him down from the spike with her hair and flows her chakra through him as she lays him down, healing his wound because he's apparently not as deceased as he seemed. Shikadai is completely and utterly shocked by this. He's startled, thinking to himself that the wound had been closed. Himawari tells him that she can't be absolutely certain that the wound was completely or properly healed, and that they need to get him to the hospital. Shikadai asks her what this power is that she's got, and she says that she's not certain, and all she knows is that it's probably what Jura is after, and she's gonna confirm it. Chocho asks how she plans to do that, and Himawari tells her that she's going to defeat Jura, as if she doesn't, it's the end for all of them. Himawari tells them to all get away from there as fast as possible, as it's obvious that Jura is only after her. Chocho doesn't want to, but Shikadai says that they have to. If they don't, they'll get caught up in the battle. They're carrying Inogen with them, and all they'll do is slow Himawari down. Shikadai continues to speak, telling her that they need to pull back now to minimize losses, as this appears to be a battle they can't win. Jura commends Shikadai on his mind finally realizing the concept and tells him that he will remember his name for the next time they meet. Chocho then proceeds to tell her that she will not accept Himawari fighting against Jura alone, but Himawari says she doesn't want to, but feels like she has no choice. The power she has comes with a responsibility she needs to carry out, and she feels that her father and brother would do the same. Chocho reminds Himawari of her promise that they would all visit the new pancake house when it opens in Konoha. I can't help but imagine them all going to an IHOP together. Anyway, Himawari says that she hasn't forgotten and that she loves pancakes. Shikadai then calls Chocho to follow after. At this time, Jura is standing there with her and speaks. He tells her that he knows that they're not idiots, but he can't help but wonder what it is that seemingly lowers their decision-making abilities time and time again. He continues on by saying that Inogen's near destruction could have been avoided had he only heeded his repeated warnings and not acted out irrationally. Jura then says, while he still doesn't understand it, whatever it is has caught fire inside of Himawari, and he wonders if the two concepts are related. Himawari commands him to shut up and just punches him in the ribs, causing the ground to crack beneath them. She then strikes him a second time and sends him flying back. This punch sends him flying back a comically long Dragon Ball-esque distance, leaving nothing but destruction in his wake. Jura flies up out of the rubble and then begins to dive bomb her. Her hair, however, spikes up, causing Jura to take notice. She forms what looks like a tailed beast ball from her hair, as Jura responds by pouring on the brakes and seemingly forming a tailed beast ball of his own from his Rinnegan. The density of the chakra in the ball causes the ground below her to depress further as she then launches it up. Jura fires his as well, and the two blasts connect with a massive explosion so large and loud that it's possible to see from some distance. Shikadai looks back with worry and astonishment. Himawari, standing there, looks up at Jura, who himself looks down at her from the air. It seems that the two are more evenly matched now. Jura lands and says he's rather surprised that not only had she managed to have the power to create a Bijou bomb, but the control to utilize it. He says that even though this requires the Ninetales' energy, it's surprising to see how much she's advanced. He then goes on to say that something else surprises him, but doesn't yet reveal it, as he goes straight into an attack, headbutting Himawari, knocking her back before utilizing the body flicker technique to appear above her and kick her, smashing her face into the ground directly. Jura then reveals he's not been using anywhere near his full power, and now he wants to test out his true power on her and has decided to release it. As Himawari rises, they prepare to continue their battle. Back in Konoha though, Trisuke, please forgive me, I keep forgetting his name, is laying there among claw marks, apparently defeated as Sarada and the others stand above him. Sarada sees his wounds and tells him that it must be fatal. She tells him that if he tells her who taught him the Chidori, she'll ease his pain. But instead, he just sort of melts into the claw mark. He then rises out of another claw mark, and when he does, his wounds are gone. As he does so, one of the shinobi nearby comments on this as Trisuke looks Sarada in the eyes and asks her to tell him more about her Sharingan. He tells her that Jura told him about them and he wishes to know more. Sarada hears this and is a little confused. Jura, she questions. Trisuke then asks if the technique he just used was called the Chidori, and asks if it's hard to control because he doesn't have eyes like hers. Actually, this is something I never really considered before. I had always assumed that because the Sharingan was, in a way, a watered-down version of the Rinnegan, that the Rinnegan would always be better. But we're pretty much shown here and now that the Rinnegan does not have the same reaction time as a Sharingan. That might be something you all knew easy peasy, but I didn't realize it. Learn something new every day. Sarada is confused with what this guy even is. Konohamaru then says he still hasn't answered any questions and asks who he really is, and what his connection is to Sasuke Uchiha. Trisuke states that he has no idea who Sasuke is and asks why they keep asking him ridiculous questions. He says that he doesn't know who he himself is and that this is what he came to Konoha for, to figure that out. Sumire then tells Konohamaru to protect Sarada because she's almost certain that Trisuke is after her. Trisuke sticks out his hand into a claw mark and uses it to electrocute Sarada from behind. As the other shinobi prepares an earth-style ninjutsu, Trisuke strikes him with a fire-style fireball jutsu without even using hand signs. As the shinobi burns, Sumire is attempting to heal Sarada. Konohamaru attempts to strike Trisuke with a Rasengan, only for Trisuke to go through the claw mark and appear behind him and attempt to use the Chidori to kill him. It's then that Konohamaru proves why he should have been Hokage by showing off his own advanced jutsu within the Rasengan family called Wind-Style Rasen Barricade. The technique catches the Chidori easily, but he still gets thrown into the wall rather hard. Trisuke then appears behind Sarada and Sumire, approaching them. He shocks Sumire and approaches Sarada, who can't move because of the lightning-style attack she received earlier. As bad as this looks, we then get taken back to Himawari's battle with Jura, where we're shown him mercilessly pummeling her. He strikes her in the jaw before utilizing what looks like a tailed beast ball, or possibly the Diva Path, to blast her in the side. She cries out, hits the ground, and grabs at her ribs as they seem to smoke from the blast. Jura stands over her and looks down at her and notices that she's healing rather quickly, noting that this is far stronger than human-level healing, or even Jinchuriki-level healing. It's healing almost on par with what Bijou possess. He then continues to say that, despite that, she's still expending too much chakra. Inside of her, Kurama reluctantly agrees and tells Himawari that Jura is a monster that they're not entirely ready for, and that while her high potential is prodigious, it doesn't make up for the vast difference between their powers. They're just totally outmatched. As this happens, Kawaki and Delta rocket through the sky. She tells him not to get upset, but what exactly is he going to do against the guy who kicked his butt? Kawaki says he can't not do something, so he has to go and help in any way he can. Delta asks him that as the core of her question. What exactly can he do in the battle? Suddenly, at speeds that make Delta and Kawaki feel like they're standing still, another shinobi flies past them. It's Boruto. Kawaki is astounded by this. Boruto speeds through the air right at Jura. Jura sees this and seemingly steps to the side. Boruto grabs Himawari and begins to take off again. At about this time, Trisuke begins to absorb Sarada. He states that he has no idea who he truly is, but he goes on to say that despite that, he knows one thing, and that is Sarada. He questions that if he eats Sarada, will he suddenly understand who and what he is? As he asks that question, a toad sits on a power transformer behind them. He calls out to Boruto and says that the symbol is in position. Boruto then raises his hand and calls out his jutsu, Flying Raijin Jutsu. Boruto suddenly appears over Trisuke and begins to fly down toward him, carrying his sister in one hand and pulling his sword with the other. He carves through Trisuke's arm to save Sarada. Everyone, including Trisuke, is surprised to see Boruto there. As he stands there, both Jura and Trisuke seem to speak in unison. You crafty thing, Boruto Otsutsuki. And that's where the chapter ends. Wow, that was a wonderful chapter, and about what I expected it to be, if not actually a little bit better. But let's unpack a few things first. Right off the bat, we need to examine Himawari's tailed beast mode that she's displaying. As said before, her form seems reminiscent of a mix between Naruto's and Kushina's tailed beast mode. Her level of healing is impressive indeed, though Naruto, while totally unchained, seemed to be similar, such as the time when Sasuke fatally wounded him with a Chidori in the shoulder, but Naruto just pulled it out and healed the wound. But it's true that Himawari just flat out overpowers that. Like, that instance is nothing compared to what she did with even Inogen. She completely regenerated Boy's whole tummy, and all the stuff in it too. She seems to regenerate on the spot, and the question is, why? Why is her healing so powerful? Even Jura mentioned it, saying that it surpassed any human or Jinchuriki. It wasn't natural. There's more to Himawari's abilities than simply compatibility, or perhaps that's exactly what it is. I have two theories in this that I would like to posit, so sit there and pay attention, because I don't want to say it twice, unless of course you rewind a little and then I can say it as many times as you'd like. Anyway, theory number 1, Himawari has 6 paths chakra. This theory is exactly as it implies. You see, normally a tailed beast, to my knowledge, has never been shown to ever heal anything but its original host. I could be wrong, it almost seems like that's how Minato survived version 2 Kushina, but I could be imagining things. I do know that Naruto utilized 6 paths chakra during the 4th Shinobi World War arc to heal up Might Guy. It could be something similar to that. Not exactly that it's the same, but there is a reason why I think this is a possibility. You see, Kurama was inside of Naruto when Naruto had 6 paths chakra during the war arc, as we can see Kurama merge with the 6 paths Kunitsukami. Besides just receiving this chakra from Hagoromo, Naruto also received some of his power from all of the other tailed beasts, and Kurama was there the whole time. If Naruto had 6 paths chakra, what's to say that Kurama doesn't? You might say that Kurama was once inside of Hagoromo and ask why he didn't have 6 paths chakra from that, but the point was Kurama didn't yet exist. Hagoromo was not the Jinchuriki of the 1 tails through 9 tails, he was the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails, and the purpose of him even making Kurama in the first place was to simply divide the power. But that being said, Kurama has been exposed to this power now, and may possibly have had 6 paths chakra from the very start of Boruto. So it's possible that a remnant of 6 paths chakra remains inside of Kurama to this very point, and that Himawari may possibly have that chakra in her too, and that maybe that can explain her incredible healing abilities. But this, after all, is just one theory. Here's a second. Theory number 2, Himawari is actually a tailed beast as well. This might sound a little strange to think about, but think about what Jura said. He said that she has healing abilities beyond a human or even a Jinchuriki. Healing abilities almost on par with what they, as tailed beasts, have. The question to ask now is, why? Is it simply because she's just that compatible, or is it something more? Well, that's where this theory comes from. The question is, why does Himawari have the highest potential? Why not Naruto? Why not Kushina? Is it because Naruto mixed with the Hyuga clan, who are known to be able to control chakra from every tenketsu? That's a possibility, but there's something else that sets Himawari apart truly, and that's that she was the first Jinchuriki in history to ever have a tailed beast reconstitute inside of her. That's completely unheard of, to have a tailed beast sealed into you at the moment of its reconstitution. So why is it that this happened? Did Naruto seal a piece of the 9 tails into her? If he had, surely Kurama would have known. Kurama himself doesn't understand why it is this has happened either. Her Jinchuriki state is so unusual that it breaks every norm that every character knows about, to the point that it even confuses each tailed beast. But imagine for a moment this. Imagine that Himawari isn't actually what we think she is. Now, if we think back, the genes Naruto has have always been dominant. Always. From Minato Namikaze all the way down to Boruto, the firstborn has always had blonde hair and blue eyes. Himawari breaks the norm in that she looks nothing like Naruto save for the eye lines. But realize that Minato Namikaze didn't have the eye lines, so those aren't technically part of the genes, but are probably more closely connected to the offspring of a 9 tails Jinchuriki. Despite this, Himawari looks almost exactly like her mother, to a T. So what if her father isn't actually Naruto? What if her true father is actually Kurama, and Hinata's genes were just the dominant ones? I know that this is a very disturbing theory, but there is a reason why I'm saying this. Kishimoto has done this before. If any of you recall, there once was a story Kishimoto-sensei wrote as a pilot for the Naruto series, in which Naruto was not the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails, but instead the son of the 9 tails. It is very possible that Kishimoto-sensei is attempting to pay homage to his original design for Naruto in this way. That certainly would explain why she'd be more compatible than her father and grandmother with this tailed beast, and might even explain why Kurama reconstituted inside of her. Maybe she is herself part Kurama. But moving away from Kurama and Himawari, let's move over to Sarada, the other one we've been paying close attention to. From the moment she awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan, all we wanted to know is what it could do, what her Susanoo looks like. To be honest, I was hoping we would get to see it today, but we didn't, which is sad, but like always, I say maybe next chapter, but let's rest assured that Mr. Kishimoto hasn't forgotten about it. With Trisuke making such a big deal about her Sharingan, no doubt those eyes will come into play very soon. Another interesting thing, which may actually make me look like a Naruto noob, is that we came to realize that the Rinnegan does not have the same reaction time as the Sharingan, even the base Sharingan. I mean, I knew that Sasuke's Rinnegan possessed Tomoe in them, which allowed him to access abilities he had with his Sharingan, but I didn't realize that this included the high-level photosensitivity of it. I'll be frank with you, this actually changes the way I see the relationship between the Sharingan and the Rinnegan. Considering that one exists because of the other, I had always assumed that the Rinnegan was just a souped-up Sharingan, but apparently this is not true. Apparently the Sharingan can do things that even the Rinnegan can't. Indeed, the Rinnegan has more powers than the Sharingan, but the Sharingan apparently can see far better than the Rinnegan ever thought about seeing, as the Sharingan apparently can deal with the tunnel vision that the Rinnegan can't. That puts the Mangekyo Sharingan on a level beyond even the Rinnegan in certain aspects. One could think that while the Rinnegan is a jack of all trades, it's a master of none. The Sharingan is simplicity and min-maxing personified. The Sharingan compared to the Rinnegan is like comparing players who use builds in Elden Rings to players who don't. Those who don't have a wide focus and can do many things, but they might not stack up against a boss that someone of a lower level who uses a build can tank. But at this point, I'm getting really hyped about the Sharingan and fluffing it up like crazy. In the end, Boruto flat out beat Kawaki at literally everything, and was fast enough that he could take Jura by surprise. I would be tempted to say that Boruto may be pulling a Buu Saga Goku here, and is just so much more powerful than everyone else, including the villains, and just isn't helping as much for some personal reason. At least, that's how he's being written. The strongest shinobi of all time is pretty much what Boruto has become, and bro hasn't even learned to control his karma seal yet. So just wait until he awakens it one day and masters it. There will be no stopping him. But just like before, I'm pretty certain that Kawaki is going to be hitting the gym later, or getting some upgrades from Amato, because there's no way that it's not going to be one-sided in he and Boruto's final battle without Kawaki growing strong enough to match him. And then we also have the Jogan coming, which reminds me, I saw that a data book recently named Kawaki's dojutsu the Kokugan, so there's some random news out of the side of my pocket. And just because I don't think that I should ignore it, let's all give a round of applause in the comments for Konohamaru finally achieving an advanced variant of the Rasengan. Like Naruto, he added wind style, but this time instead of making it into a super cutting ultra offensive technique, he instead created a completely and utterly defensive technique. Still a cool thing that he did, and maybe this is a sign that he's been further developing the Rasengan. Maybe he'll develop a new one as well, or even learn to copy Boruto's Uzuhiko. But anyway, that's what I thought of the chapter. But what did you think of the chapter? Did you enjoy it? What are your theories on the reason why Himawari is so different from Naruto and Kushina and literally every Jinchuriki we've ever seen? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Here's a couple more videos to entertain you. Until next time, peace out.